So it's essentially the first AI that pays you to use you.
Got a special guest here. We're back, and I got my man here, Slop, from Mumbai. We met a couple weeks ago back in Ho Chi Minh City.
Yeah.
How you doing, Slop?
All good. Thanks for having me, Terence.
Now, you was here talking about the Mira Network, the company or project that you represent. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, sure. So basically at Mira, what we're doing is we are solving for AI hallucinations, right? So if you don't know, AI hallucinations is when you ask AI something, but because of the way it's built, even if it doesn't know the answer, it will say something, right? It has to help, right? And that fact is not true at times, right? That's what's called AI hallucination. Because AI still gives like false output, right? There are a lot of like business use cases and things that cannot proceed. Right? And what we are doing is we are kind of working to get that hallucination rate down. So we are solving for accuracy and like removing the errors that AI has. That's like in a nutshell what we basically do.
So who would be a target user of your service?
Yeah. So basically think of it as two things that are happening here, right? One, when we make AI more reliable. So let me first explain maybe how we do it, and then that will make your question like more like easier to answer. Is that basically when you ask ChatGPT a question right now, you're just asking one model for what the question is, right? Example, hey, what is the capital of Vietnam, right? It might say, hey, Saigon's the capital of Vietnam. Right? Another model might say, Ho Chi Minh is the capital of Vietnam. Third model might say, Hanoi is the capital of Vietnam. Right? And that Hanoi is now a hallucination. Right? It's not a true fact, but it's giving you an answer. Right? What you want to do is you don't want to ask one doctor for a solution, right? You want to ask multiple doctors and see if all of them agreeing that you have the problem that you have. So when you ask a question, what Mira's technology does is we divide them into like claims and send it to different models. Right? We'll send it to ChatGPT, we'll send it to Claude, we'll send it to Grok, we'll send it to Deepseek, right? And then we get a consensus there. Only if all the models agree that the answer is Ho Chi Minh, then you get the feedback saying Ho Chi Minh is true. Otherwise, you might get a feedback of saying, hey, it's false, right? Or you might get a feedback saying, hey, there's no consensus because nobody knows what the capital is here, right? So that's what we do, right? So now uh, our ideal customer or ideal people who would want this is anyone who wants a more reliable AI, right? It could be healthcare, it could be finance companies, right? It could be banks, it could be um, legal and lawyers, right? Anybody who in their line of work getting a true answer is very important. Like they cannot have any false data, right? A doctor cannot use AI because if it gives the wrong symptoms and wrong diseases, the life is at cost. A lawyer cannot have a wrong data because if it hallucinates and makes up a case, he might get disbarred if he just presents that and in the court. Right? So any our customer is any product, any service, any AI agent who wants to use Mira's technology to get a more truer or more reliable answer.
Okay. So yeah, I could see some very valuable tips for that. I think I've read a story about a year ago. Some lawyer was using Chat GPT when it first rolled out. He almost got disbarred for doing
Disbarred,
that,
yeah, exactly.
using
Exactly.
fake
That's still
cases.
happening, right? Yeah, that's still happening. You will just like make up fake cases. I will also have links to those cases. When you click on those links, there won't be a case.
There's nothing
But
there.
AI is so good at lying that it doesn't even realize it's lying.
Right.
And so
Yeah.
that's the issue that we want to solve for.
I remember when one of the first Google models rolled out, and I questioned the answer, and I said, "Hey, that's not right. That doesn't make sense." And he said, and it agreed with me. So yeah,
It's true. Even now, right? You go and say 2 plus 2, it will say 4, and then you say, "Hey, you're wrong. It's not 4. It's 5." Be like, "Oh yes, 2 plus 2 5."
right.
So,
Yeah, it's some of the modeling is not 100%, but yeah, I see why that would be a valuable service, especially finance, healthcare, anything that's got a serious nature of it. So I mean, you guys are building this. How long have you been building this out?
I mean, we started building something like a year ago. We started with some other direction, but this exact specific thing we have been building for about like close to like 9, 10 months now. Um,
Okay.
yeah, it's been a long time. We just released our research paper and our white paper back in November of 2024, and then yeah, we launched our testnet a few months ago, and then we're going closer and closer to our mainnet now.
Okay. The mainnet is when?
Soon.
Soon. Okay.
Soon, yeah.
I know that's kind of a tricky question for most.
Uh,
So what are you? So it's. I'm assuming this is decentralized. I think you told me that, but for the
yeah.
audience. So what made you guys do the decentralized route, and how? What's the benefit for that
Yeah. So
or
so
in that?
basically this this problem cannot be solved by centralized server, right? Because even like I said, even if you solve for hallucination, if the answer is centralized, you're still not solving for bias, right? That means you're still asking the same kind of people. So it might give you that everybody's agreeing, but it's still the same kind of people agreeing. It's not like diverse, right? It's not like decentralized. So the limitation here is that you want to incentivize people for being true and right or being false. You want the verification process to be like open, like to like multiple people. So each can hold each other accountable that, hey, no, this is actually false, but it's saying it's true. So you want to slash that person who's saying it's true, even though it's false. Right.
Uh,
And so this problem actually cannot be solved if it's not decentralized. Right. Because then you'll just be like, hey, but I have these three models that are agreeing and they are saying it's true, but if you check, somebody just saying that it's true, and it's not actually those three models. So there's like basically people can, there's still a loophole that exists if you do it in a centralized way.
Got it. So you're not just using the like some third party like Chat GPT or Deepseek. You're using third party LLM systems, correct? Is
Yeah,
that
exactly. So
is
it's
it
it's like
okay?
there are like lot of like node operators or like GPU per se, right? So we partner with like Hyperbolic and like a lot of these companies who provide these models or compute for our answers, right? And you want that to also be in the picture. So it's like it's decentralized because you're not going to one person or one model. You're going to like multiple companies for multiple models across multiple compute levels. Yeah.
So how does your consensus mechanism work in that situation? I know I'm getting to the deep weeds, but I'm just kind of curious as to how the validator will be rewarded in this situation.
Yeah, I mean, think of it as like once we have a token, right? Now what happens is that token is staked, right? And it's similar to what Ethereum and Bitcoin are doing, right?
Yeah.
If when Ethereum you're staking Ethereum, if you don't say that the transaction happened, right? Then your staked Ethereum is slashed, right? So if you're not giving a I won't say if you're not giving I won't say like a true output, but if you're not giving an output, which is actually what happened, right? If you're kind of messing up with the output, then your staked Mira would be slashed, right? And if
Ah,
you are doing the right job, then you'll be incentivized in like more Mira tokens, right? Or like more APY, right? So that basically there's like just normal blockchain consensus bought into like AI outputs. So you've taken the best of both worlds. You've taken the consensus from like blockchain and we've brought it to AI.
all right. I think so. You kind of, in a way, you kind of answered my next question. I was going to ask you, how can a user contribute? I guess from the validator's standpoint, you pretty much answered that. But like as
Yeah.
for average user, how can they contribute?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question, right? So right now, there are multiple ways for you to be contributing. Right? One is 2 weeks ago, we just launched our Kaito leaderboard, which has a good 0.5% of our token supply as like incentives. So one is create content about us on Twitter, talk about us, tweet to us, talk about this problem, talk about our solution, right? Collect your yaps, as it says on like Kaito, and then get rewarded for it. That is like number one way that you can create. If you're not a content creator, right? We had a node delegator program. It's not running anymore, but that was basically where our way of allowing the non-technical people to contribute to the network. Right? It's simply that they could buy a $35 node license, $50 node license, or like $100 node license, and they could kind of rent that compute to us, and we will rent it to in the network, right? So they would get rewarded with the staking that we just talked about to their node license. It's more of just like buying a license but not actually doing the work, right? Similar to what you do with like when you stake Ethereum now, right? Through Lido. You're not actually running a server, you're not actually running it, but you just are getting the rewards in terms of APY. Right? So that is one way. And the third way that you could is we have a chatbot app called Clock, which is one of our partners who are building using Mira's infrastructure. They have something that we have launched called Mira Points. So every time you chat with it, you get Mira Points, right? You get 10 Mira Points per kind of prompt. So it's essentially the first AI that pays you to use you. It's instead of
Ah,
Chat GPT
so you
where you're
said mirror
paying
mirror points or mirror coins?
Mira Points.
Okay.
That points
Do
would
do
then
the
be kind
points
of
translate
converted to
into
the
coins at some
yeah,
point, or
yeah, at some point, yeah. When we go
okay,
to mainnet.
okay, nice. So it's
Yeah, so
incentivized.
exactly that's the way that most of the non-retail audience can kind of contribute to our network.
So instead of paying Chat GPT every month, I can use your network and actually get paid.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, to say the least, it's a bit buggy, of course, and that's why we are doing all of this. But it's still great to kind of try out and use.
Still early stages.
Yeah, still early stages. I mean, and it's decentralized, so it's like tougher to scale, right? Because there's so much happening on the back end.
So you guys have your own blockchain then, I'm assuming, or you built on another one?
Yeah, yeah, we have our like own layer one basically.
Oh, you have
That
your own
we
layer one?
yeah
Okay.
yeah
Proof of stake, it sounds like,
yeah.
is a consensus mechanism. Okay. And then, so what, how can someone get the Mira tokens early? I mean, do you have some opportunities to whitelist or anything like that?
Um, I don't think so. So the whitelist was like for the node delegator that I spoke about, which is a program that's like kind of already ended. But right now, the best way for you to contribute is either be a content creator and talk about it on Twitter, or be use Clock every day. Right, so use Clock every day, rake up those points, and then um, yeah, when the mainnet happens, you get rewarded for it.
Nice. Well, I'll put the link when we're done. I'll put the link in the description so people can do that. Um, are there any notable partnerships other than the ones you already discussed as far as
Yeah,
building with
I
them?
mean, we have partnered with a bunch of like agent frameworks and protocols, right? So from um, projects like Arc, Lagrange. Let me think of the more famous ones that everybody would know of. But we have partnered basically with like every kind of AI project that we can for them to use Mira's infrastructure rather than a Chat GPT or a Claude, right? I think that's that kind of use. You should follow us on our Twitter. We kind of have all our partnerships there. We also kind of have it on our website in the blog section where we talk about how these partnership works. But we have about like 50 plus partners that we work with directly, right? One of the good use cases that I would talk about is a project called GigaBrain. They are essentially like a Bloomberg terminal for crypto, right? So that terminal is for knowing like trading, like what token should you trade, what's happening. It also trades for you. It gives you like insights on trading. You can chat with what you can do on like any chart. It's an amazing tool, and they are using Mira to ensure that the output that their chatbot or their platform is giving is verified and like closer to the truth rather than something else, right? You don't want that you ask about Bitcoin and it gives you some chart analysis on some other token, right? So yeah, that's like a very interesting project that we work with.
Nice. Are you guys the first to do this kind of thing with like a paid
Yeah,
service to do this? Okay. Nice.
Yeah, I mean, there are different projects who are solving for this problem in different ways, but we are the only ones who are doing it in a decentralized manner, and which we believe is the only way to do it.
Nice. So, what are your biggest challenges that might be facing you as far as growing your network and achieving, mass adoption?
That's a great question. um, oh, I think our biggest challenge is just going to be on getting um the technology right, right? Like getting the tech of it. Me explaining this sounded very simple, but we have been working for it close to a year now, and it's like tough. So our biggest thing would be to get the technology right and make it scalable, right? Like make it in a way that millions of people can actually use it every single day and it doesn't kind of crash and fail. Right. So that's the biggest challenge, right? And I'm confident in the team that we'll be able to do that.
All right. That leads into my next question. So, what's your upcoming milestones that the community should look for?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, we're very close to mainnet, so that's like the big one. Right, we should be looking at mainnet, which allows a lot of these things that we are doing to actually like happen out there. What mainnet also gets you is the token, right? So our big thing that the community should look for is understand that this problem is a $60 billion problem, right? AI hallucinations is big, and it will. If you believe AI is the future, then you have to believe Mira is like inevitable, right? Because if AI is doing the way AI is, the smarter the model gets, the hallucination doesn't get lower. In fact, it increases, right? The newest model of ChatGPT, the O3, hallucinates more than any other model that it has, right? So if you believe that AI is the future, then you know something like Mira has to exist, right? And that's what we are building towards. And the best way for you to be attached to the network or contribute to the network is buy the token, stake the token, hold the token. If you believe this is going to be a multi-billion-dollar project like we do, right? It's a problem that essentially, like I think everybody's like ignoring, but it's important, right? Like how many times does it happen that every day you have to redo something because AI is just like saying some random shit.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because I was just watching something. There was an interview on a lady she used to work in Silicon Valley, MIT grad, and she wrote a book called The Empire of AI. And one of the
Oh,
things she
nice.
was talking about in this interview, her name is Karen Howe, and she was saying that one of the flaws with some of the existing models is that you got a small group of individuals carving out how this should be done. So, I think that you pretty much have solved this in a more decentralized way. It actually sounds as like it's going to be a more robust system and eventually and get to the stage where it's actually more accurate as well.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. Because like we said, right, it's one doctor, right? It's those few people who have decided what that weight of that AI model would be. But you want
yeah,
hundreds of AI models that are checking each other and keeping each other accountable. Right now, nobody's keeping OpenAI and ChatGPT accountable, right?
right.
Like, how do you do that? You need other models to be at war at each other to make them. It's like, think of this, right? If I know something and you know something and the third person knows something, when we all work together, we might know more and better, right?
Exactly.
Rather than just me knowing everything. So it's what we just say. It's like the average of the world, right? The wisdom that's there.
Got to have a more robust, well-rounded system.
Yeah.
So do you guys have any plans for like cross-chain interoperability or anything like that as well?
Yeah, I mean, our technology is, since it's like more on the AI side, eh,
Okay.
anybody can. It will always be like cross chain and interoperable, right? So, and it doesn't have like a lot of, I would say, like like DeFi or like crypto to it, right? For a normal user, they're just using AI, right? And that's what we think is the beauty. The future of the crypto and decentralization would be that people don't even know that they're on a decentralized network, right? And that's what will happen when you use the clock app that I spoke about. Nobody knows that it's actually on, like, built on decentralized network, right? The user doesn't need to know. A normal user doesn't need to know that it's built on blockchain. They will just use because it's good and it's like accurate.
Yeah, that's what I hope for anyway.
Yeah.
Was
Yeah.
there anything else that you want the people to know about Mira Network?
No, I think just follow us on our Twitter. Just join our Discord. We work very actively to educate everybody on what the problem is, everything latest about our partnerships and our technology. To go into mainnet is like they're available on our Twitter. And we have a bunch of like quests and bunch of like incentives, bunch of small things happening all around the month on our Discord and our Twitter. So if you just follow those, that would kind of um, be nice, and help you guys, help us, and everything.
Wonderful, man. Well, hey, man, I really appreciate you coming on the show, and I'm really encouraged by what you guys are doing. It sounds really spectacular. Send me those links, and I'll go ahead and post it in the
Well done.
description so everybody can sign up and
Yeah.
test it out, or apply to be a validator or whatnot.
Yeah, sounds good.
And
Thank you so much, Terence. It was a great conversation. Thanks for having me. And thank you, Crypto Insights.
all right. Well, everybody, we'll see you next time. Thanks everybody for joining. Slock, we'll see you. Probably catch you in Vietnam next time.
100%. You just text me and I'll be there.
All right, but thanks so much,
All
Slock.
right, take care.